As humans, we're designed to be connected. So being isolated, I mean, we can all relate. We've all been through COVID not too long ago and how isolating that was, and can relate to the difference that it felt when you couldn't be with your people. So just reiterate how important it is to be with other people. I talk to moms a lot about how when we have something that's going on in our head, we need to get it out of our head. So like being able to talk to somebody about it. Having a friend who's been through it is just so different. It's just so healing in itself just to have somebody, even if they're just coming and sitting with you and like listening.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life in marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. Today, I have my new friend here, Patrice Payment, who is a psychotherapist who specializes in supporting new moms in helping them transition into pre-mom life to new mom life, or even adding kids and how that changes your life as a parent. And we're going to dive into a topic that I've been dying, like literally dying, searching for someone to chat with me about this. And this is a topic of friendship when you're a mom. It is so different than pre-mom life. Like pre-mom life, it's like, cool, you like to go shopping? I like to go shopping. You like to watch movies? I like to watch movies. Or you like to party? I like to party. Let's be friends, right? It's very different once you have kids. Then there's this clear separation of, do you have kids? You don't have kids? Shoot, how do we mesh our lives together? Because my schedule is now revolving around this baby and nap time and doing all the things. And so I'm very excited to tackle this topic around friendship as a mom and how it changes as our kids age. But before we dive into it, Patrice, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being a guest here. And can you please share with our listeners where you live, how old your kids are, and what led you to become a psychotherapist and choose the population you want to serve?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I'm so glad that we connected and that we are able to talk about this. I'm in Roswell, Georgia. I'm licensed in Georgia, so I can see moms anywhere in Georgia virtually, but I also have an office in Roswell. My kids are 10 and 13. So yes, the fun age is having teenagers now. So my youngest will be in middle school next year. They'll be at the same school, so that'll be fun, but also interesting. But anyway, I've always had a passion for helping people. And when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician, but I hated the chemistry part of school. So I ended up loving my psychology class and then just kind of going further with that, getting my master's in counseling. I started out working with kids though, and always had a passion for connecting with kids, like felt like I could really get on their level. And I still have that, but after I had my own kids, it just kind of changed because I didn't want to work with other people's kids anymore, if that makes sense. And so I actually kind of took some time off from doing counseling and I became a stay-at-home mom. My first experience becoming a mom was very eye-opening because I had all this experience with kids and I thought I would know exactly what to do, but then I realized I had no clue. I also saw how isolating it was to be a stay-at-home mom and just how people don't talk about that and like how people don't talk about how hard it is. It's like we expect to just have this mother instinct and just be able to figure it out, which you do. I'm not saying you don't figure it out, but it's so much harder than people admit to. And I just kind of developed this passion for wanting to talk about it and like wanting moms to know that they're not alone in the hard parts and that there's hope. So I kind of pivoted when I came back to work after being a stay-at-home mom and decided to just work with moms. And then I found that there was actually a certification you can get in perinatal mental health. So that's what I ended up doing. My specialty within working with moms is new moms with anxiety, which we can kind of joke and say, doesn't every mom have anxiety? Like, do you ever stop worrying about your kids? It's just when the anxiety becomes so challenging that you feel like it's interfering with your ability to be a mom. But I also work with moms who aren't at that point, who just kind of feel like they want to talk to somebody just to have some extra support. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I am.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I think that moms could use all the support. And I think the only thing that needs to change is really our thoughts on seeking help, right? Previous generations have taught us that it's not a good thing to ask for help, that we're not supposed to. We're supposed to do it on our own. And, given what people have told us while we grew up and what we witnessed, that should be enough. And talking to our moms and grandmas and aunts should be enough. But we are now in this modern day experience that is very different than what they were experiencing when they became moms. Not to say that theirs wasn't hard, but ours is a different kind of hard. And I think that having friends is such a game changer in this stage. And I know how difficult it is. Like you said, it is very isolating. My first experience into motherhood was becoming a stepmom. And I wasn't technically a stepmom yet, but I had stepped into a parental role because my then best friend, now husband, had a son already. And I was 25. I wasn't planning to have kids yet, right? Where I lived in California, people weren't having kids at that age, right? People were waiting. People weren't even married at that age. And so I had all of one friend and two cousins who were also parents. None of my close girlfriends had kids. I don't even think any of them were married. I think I was the second person to get married in our friend group. And it was very isolating. No one understood what I was going through. I also didn't know how to express what I was going through. And it felt like it went from, oh, yeah, let's go out. Someone would, shoot me a text or give me a call like, hey, I'm on my way to go do this. Do you want to hop in? Like that no longer became feasible for me. It no longer became a priority to me because I was choosing family life. And I didn't realize that I was isolating myself in the process. But also because I was the first person in my friend group to become a parent, no one knew how to work with that. And so it was like, if I couldn't change what I was doing to meet what they were doing, I was not going to be included. Whereas now, as a mom, when I know that someone is new to becoming a mom, I'm like inserting myself in their life because they're so overloaded. And I know that from experience that if I want to hang out with my friend, I'm going to go over to their house and bring a hot meal, offer to wash dishes, offer to watch the baby so they can take a nap or a shower. I'm going to be playing the supportive role over, hey, let's sit and chat. And I'm going to create dishes for you so that you have more work and I'm yet another person for you to take care of. And so I wanted to dive into this topic because there are a lot of moms out there, new moms out there, who are like, I don't have any friends for whatever reason, right? I don't have any friends, but I'm also so overwhelmed by getting ready to go out and meet people. Maybe they have social anxiety or maybe something else is going on. What can you share with them about why it's important to work through that? And also, how can they work through that so that they are not left stewing in their isolation and their overwhelm with all that comes with being a mom?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different pieces to it. As humans, we're designed to be connected. So being isolated, I mean, we can all relate. Like we've all been through COVID not too long ago and like how isolating that was and can kind of relate to the difference that it felt when you couldn't be with your people, So I think just to kind of reiterate that, like how important it is to be with other people. And I talk to moms a lot about how when we have something that's going on in our head, we need to get it out of our head. So like being able to talk to somebody about it, even if it's just like a parent or a relative, but like having a friend who's been through it is just so different. And I think it's just so healing in itself just to have somebody, even if they're just coming and sitting with you and like listening. So it's definitely important. It depends on everyone's situation, of course, like how to go about making friends. But I would just say try to focus on thinking about what do you enjoy? What do you like doing? And then try to find other groups of people who are doing the same thing. So you're not like trying to recreate this whole thing that like is not you. For example, if you really enjoy running, try to find a running group nearby. And the more that you are with those same people, the more experiences you're going to have and the more memories you're going to have. You can look back and laugh about when you said such and such or when such and such happened. But like for moms, I think it depends on your situation again. But I think like if you're a stay-at-home mom, at least where we are, there are groups of moms that are getting together and they have kids in the same stage of life. So this was huge for me when I first was a stay-at-home mom. I joined a mom's group in my area, and it ended up being moms that I live in a really big neighborhood. So a lot of them were in my neighborhood, but some of them were just like neighboring community, all in my community. And we would have play groups where we would meet up once a week. And the beauty of it was if I was a brand new mom and I was just overwhelmed, so overwhelmed that I didn't even know how to pick up the phone and ask somebody to hang out, it was already arranged. So like every Wednesday at 10 a.m., we would meet up at this park or so and so's house. So it was like, it just took that part out of it. I think I'm definitely very blessed to have that. But my best friends now are friends that I met in that group. I'm not going to say it was easy because the first few times I went, I was like scared to death and I didn't talk to anyone and I waited for them to come talk to me. And luckily there were people there that like could see that I was new and like tried to get to know me. But we already had in common that we had little kids. So like they're around the same age. So it wasn't hard to come up with conversations. We could just say, oh, what do you do whenever they're not taking the bottle? Or what do you do to help with gas? And I'll never forget there was a chiropractor in the group and she put my baby on the ground and like did something with his feet to like help him get his gas out. And like, it's just stuff like that where it made it lighter. But like the more we hung out week after week after week, we got to know each other better. And then we would hang out outside of that. We would have like a monthly mom's night out. So we could all just go out and not have the kids and actually complete a sentence. But if you don't have that in your area, because I know not everyone does, like there are other ways to build that community. I think it's just about going out of your comfort zone sometimes and like not being afraid to just step out, and you have to push past it. If you really struggle with it, I think talking to a therapist can help because you can learn how to bridge that gap and learn some little tips and tricks that would help. We were talking about like going to the playground when your kids are little and seeing a mom there that just kind of like, wow, we could really be best friends, but like, how do you start that? My best friend is like, we always joke she could talk to a wall. So like she says it herself. And I'm like, how do you do it? Like we go somewhere and she's like, she just strikes up a conversation. But I think like just finding one little trick is like finding something to compliment them on. So like, I really love your shirt. Where'd you get that? And then just kind of like not being afraid to just talk to them and then just say, we come here a lot. I would love to kind of see if we could both be here at the same time, somehow. Of course, you have to gauge that conversation if they're seem like they would be open to it. But I think it's one of those things where it's like you never know if you don't ask, if you don't try. So they may be sitting there thinking the same exact thing and just be too afraid to ask for your number. You do have to kind of be a little brave, but at the same time, it's like, what do you have to lose? I mean, you may never see them again.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like when you encounter a new group, you could, like we were talking about this before we hit record, it's like, how do I do a vibe check? And if they pass that vibe check, how do I nurture this friendship without coming on too strong or being like a weirdo? Because for me, like I make friends fast, but some people are more like a slow burn kind of friendship where it's like, no, I need to have more time spent with you before I even make a decision of whether we should continue hanging out, or I invite you out to a more like formal setting for hanging out. And I think that having friends makes the motherhood experience so much easier,
Mhm.
because having someone where you could just text them, like, especially if you're nursing, right? It was so nice to have a friend who was also in a very similar stage of nursing where we'd be up in the middle of the night at weird hours and we could text each other and not feel weird, like, oh, I'm going to wake her up or whatever, and just like vent or
Mhm.
just celebrate something like, oh my gosh, look how much milk I got. Or like, oh, I got this much sleep. And just having someone understand, like be on the same page as you and feel validated, because our husbands can only understand so much. They're not going through the same experiences. Like they're there, but they're not nursing, and they don't have our bodies. They're not dealing with the transition of, oh my gosh, what happened to my body, and being touched out. Like that's just not something that they experience because they're not women, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that we don't need someone who does understand and that our spouse is enough. Like, yeah, I love my husband and I still need other parts of me to relate to someone, right? And I feel like for me, that helped me stay sane while I navigated motherhood in the earlier years, because it was really hard to not have a manual and be like, what is wrong with my baby? Or what's wrong with me? What's happening? Like, is this normal? Is this not normal?
Yeah.
There are just so many things going on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, so many things were popping in my head as you were talking, like the little symptoms that you have when you're nursing and you're like, what is going on? Like, should I go to the doctor? But like just
Mm-hmm.
somebody else to say, yes, that happens. Like you're okay. And you're gonna
Yeah.
live, somebody to kind of bring you back down to earth, but like to not feel afraid to ask those questions because you know that they've been through it. To have that group of friends where you can just be yourself and be real, there's nothing else that really matches it. And I will say, we're kind of acting like it's so easy. It's not like,
Mm-mm.
but you can do it. You just have to put the work in and like be consistent. And I think that's something my husband and I have talked about a lot too, is like friendships take work. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't just wait around for them to reach out, especially in the beginning when you're trying to build it. Like you have to often be the one to say, hey, you want to go get coffee or you want to meet at the park. I think it's actually nice when you have the kid thing in common again, like I was
Mm-hmm.
saying, because you can just say, hey, Johnny's getting restless. I really need to get him out of the house. You want to meet us at the playground?
Yes.
Like, another thing I was thinking of that I think we have now that we probably didn't have when our kids were little is social media. And at least for me, I'm in a lot of different mom groups that are for my area. So, like Roswell, where I live, there's a whole Facebook group for moms in Roswell. And you can actually just put a post and say, I mean, it takes vulnerability, but it's also, again, like you don't know until you try. So, like, just put on there, hey, I'm a new mom. I'm new to the area. I'm trying to make friends. Does anybody want to meet at a park on Monday afternoon? I think you'd be surprised at like how many other moms are just kind of waiting for somebody to do that, and you don't have to end up being best friends with them, but just to try. And like you can use that as your reason to hang, like you can use your kids kind of you know
Yeah.
what I mean, like just to bridge the gap a little.
And my sister and I were talking about this because she is childless by choice. And she was talking about like how hard it is to make friends as an adult. And I was like, oh, I can see that, because in a world where people are working virtually,
Mhm.
right? Where do we meet people? We met them at school, college, high school, whatever. We meet them at work. But if you work from home, where do you meet people? The gym? Like, but as moms, it is easier to make friends because we can use our kids. We can go to the library for circle time. We can go to the park and just strike up a conversation while we're in the same area of the playground with our kids. Like, oh, how old is your kid? What's their name?
You can make it about the kid.
Right. You can make it about the kid. And then as they go into school, it's like, oh, we're in the same class. I'm your room mom. Like, I decided to be room mom for my son's classroom this year because I'm like, I am new to this state, right? I just moved here. I don't know anybody at this school except for like the few neighbors that I met before school started. I need to meet someone like so that people start to become familiar with me. And maybe by the time the next school year rolls over, people are like, oh, hey, because we'll have our kids in the same class maybe. And with that, it's like, okay, well, are our kids in the same sports? And then that becomes like your community. It's like whoever you spend the most time with becomes your pool for potential friends, because our friendships then become a thing of convenience because our lives are so busy.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because, there will be times where your kids will get along fine. And then you meet the parents and you're like, oh, I don't think we're the same. I don't think that we're going to be great friends, but that's cool. Our kids can have play dates, but we're not necessarily going to take this any further. And so it's kind of like dating a little bit. Do you find that to be true?
You're right. For sure. It's like, what is it? It takes like however many dates until you're like actually comfortable enough to like really act loose,
like yourself. Yeah.
Feel like you have to put on a show or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like dating in a lot of ways. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And you were talking about like sports and stuff because I was thinking about my son's football team. He had 3 practices a week and they were younger, so that a lot of the parents would stick around, and then we would have the games every weekend, and then we a lot of times would just go out to eat with them after, and you do get to know those people better. And I think still, like for me anyway, to have like a really genuine friendship, I want to like have like one-on-one and like feel like I can call or text them outside of the football. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like I had to kind of gently, casually mention, hey, would you ever want to meet up for coffee or something, and then it is again having to be a little bit vulnerable. But if you don't ask, then you don't know, and you're never going to get closer if you don't take that step.
Yeah, it does take nurturing, just like with marriage, just like with your kids. It's a relationship. And if it's a relationship that you want to see grow or see if it has potential to grow, it does require that first step. And sometimes it's going to be you, right? Or sometimes you'll hit gold and they're really extroverted and they're like, hey, I'm having a party. You want to come? Right? Like, thank goodness my neighbor across the street, she's very well connected, and she invited me to her like moms and mimosas gathering on, I think it was like the second day of school. She was like, oh, I do this every year. You should come. And I met so many people from that event. And so sometimes you can get lucky in that way, but sometimes you kind of have to think forward and be like, well, what do I need right now? Like, do I need friends? Do I need a community? Because it really does take a village. Well, if I don't have a village, I need to create one and nurture one and find one. And so, yeah, it's gonna feel like dating, but it is so worth it when you do find your community, because then you get those laughs, you get those connections, and you feel seen and you feel heard and you feel less alone in this very challenging journey that seems like it's never going to end. If I'm just thinking back to like, my mom, she's almost 70 and she's still momming, like it just never ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It would be great, of course, for everyone, like, especially if you're a more introverted person, to just have that best friend see you somewhere and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, you want to be friends? But, we don't always get that. As you were talking, I was thinking about like someone who is more socially anxious, shy, and getting wrapped up in that, because I have seen people who say, well, I just don't have the village. I don't have the village. And that's almost triggering to hear that, like that it takes a village because they don't have it. And then, they don't have family close by. Maybe they're like you, they're the first one in their friend group to become a mom. Maybe they have friends, but those friends just don't get it. But I think like the importance is to not spiral into that, like, I don't have friends, I'm never going to make friends, like, because if you do, then you're just not going to take those steps that you need to take. Like, you're going to focus more on your deficits, or like
Mm-hmm.
your lack of, like, you're going to start to think things about yourself like, well, nobody would want to, I'm just weird, or I'm awkward, or whatever, like nobody would want to be friends with me. But you have to kind of flip it, and like find something that you enjoy, and try to find other people that enjoy that, so that you already have that in common. It is easier when you use the kids as that, but like maybe where you live, that isn't necessarily an option. Even if it has to be a virtual thing, I think it's okay. Like, of course, in person is going to be better, and I prefer in person anyway, but like if you have to do something that's like online, and then maybe eventually you figure out a way to meet up,
Oh,
then I think that's okay. Like, because we're both in like Atlanta area,
yep.
there's a lot of people, but like I know some people are in more of a rural community, and it's just there aren't as many people or as many of these activities or options. But
Yeah.
you have to kind of be creative.
Yeah. And if you really want to stretch your courage, create your own community,
Mhm.
right? Just put it out there. And luckily, like you said, social media is a really positive thing in that respect. You can just be like, hey, I live in this area. I'm looking to expand my community. I'm going to be at this park at 10 a.m. on this day. If you can, I'd love for you to join. I'll be there either way. Then it doesn't feel forward. You're just like announcing your plan, and maybe someone's going to show up, maybe someone won't. But either way, you're going. And I think that if we allow ourselves to be consumed by, like you said, the focusing on our deficit and what we're missing and what we're lacking, we will start to only do things to maintain that deficit. But if we challenge it, it's like, okay, well, that's where I'm at right now, but that just means I don't have a village yet, right? Like the power of your words is so big. And just like brainstorm with people, brainstorm with your parents. You could even make friends at a coffee shop. I mean, that's easy for me to say because I'm the person who will talk to anybody. Like I will talk to people at Starbucks in line. I will talk to people waiting for the airplane. Like I've just always been that kind of person. I am extroverted. But if you're not that way, I think a good hack is to go meet someone extroverted. I found this like funny Instagram post where it was like 99% of introverts only have friends because an extrovert adopted them. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's so true. Like, that's my husband. Those are all my introvert friends. I just decided I'm going to be friends with them and they agree.
Right.
And so,
Find the loudest person in the room and just
yeah,
like go
really.
and hope that they introduce
And
themselves.
you don't even need to go up to them. You could just be near them and they might talk to you. I mean, I'm joking, but also that could be a thing. Just test it. And doing something that could kind of ease your mind off of the pressure of making friends too, like joining a book club if you love to read, a knitting circle, a running club, a walking club, a hiking club. There's so many different kinds of clubs. There's even I don't know if this is a thing here, but I know in California there was like Fit for Moms groups where
Yeah.
they'll like do stroller workouts so you can bring your kid and get fit at the same time. And then there's, of course, things like what you do, Patrice. Like I recently spoke in her group about how to have your marriage thrive after you have kids. And she had a lovely community of women there that likely didn't even know each other until they joined her counseling group. So that could be a thing too. Like you don't need to have something like clinically, quote unquote, wrong with you to get support with counseling or other mom groups outside of the therapy world. You could just literally just want someone to talk to and want community, and that's okay. There's even online networking groups that have nothing to do with business. You could start that virtually if you wanted, and you might even meet someone that is driving distance from you. So there are lots of ways for you to go about this. I'm sure ChatGPT can even help you out if you ask it.
How do I make a friend?
Right.
Have you heard of that app? I think it's called Peanut.
I have heard of that. Yes.
And like set up some kind of meetups with moms. I've never actually looked at it, but I think it helps you find people like in your area or like that have something in common. So that's an option. I'm sure there's tons of different apps like that. One thing
Yeah.
you were saying that made me remember, don't just go to one time and then
Mm-mm.
come home and say, well, I didn't make a friend, I'm not going back. Like, you have to be consistent, because like thinking back to when I made these friends in the mom group that I was in, it took like several weeks of us meeting to feel like I was making a friend. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like a first date. Like, you're not going to know everything about that person, or even sometimes if they're going to be the right person to be your friend, like from one time. So just be consistent. Don't give up after one try, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe your soulmate and you're just going to know right away, but that doesn't always happen like that.
No. When my first biological son was born, I had taken him to like kid gym classes. So kind of like a gymboree situation. And from that, I kept seeing these three moms. I was like, oh, I feel like I would be friends with them. And I just kept saying hi to them and just making small talk. And then eventually we're like, oh, hey, let's go to Starbucks. Oh, hey, do you guys want to meet up? Do you guys want to go somewhere after the gym class? Do you want to come to my house and have a play date? Da, 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 da. And then we became friends, and it was so helpful. And I'm still friends with one of them because I was like so many years ago, like 8 years ago. And you just never know what's going to come out of it. But even friendships that are short-lived can be so healing and supportive for you. So don't put too much pressure on like, oh, I don't see this person as my best friend. It's like, okay, but are they cool enough to be like your acquaintance? Because I feel like with friends, we have friends for different reasons, right? There's different buckets when it comes to friends. I mean, obviously it'd be great if we had a friend that fulfilled all the things that we need in a friend. But just like with your husband, that's not really fair to do, to be like, hey, these are all my needs and I need you to fulfill them. But like, I have tennis friends right now where I'm like, that's all we do. We play tennis. I have friends where I talk to about deep things, but I wouldn't call them to go party, you know? And then I have friends that I have a lot of fun with and we go out drinking. And so it's just like ease the pressure off of it and see like where you connect and just allow that to grow to whatever it will become, and just kind of make the most of it, because any glimmer of positivity that you can add to your experience of motherhood is going to serve you so well. It's going to help you be more resilient and more equipped to handle the challenges of motherhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves sometimes for it to be like this perfect thing, but it's like just take all of it, and then it's like a cumulative thing. So it's like, the more connections you have with people, the better it's just gonna feel like in general, and you're just not gonna feel isolated. So yeah.
Yeah, loneliness is tough. So anything you can do to change that is going to be worth the effort. Even if it does feel really hard at first, I promise you it is so worth the effort. Like Grey's Anatomy, like how Christina and Meredith is like, you're my person, right? Like to know that you can find different people to fulfill the different parts of you that your heart is yearning for, like someone to connect with, someone to just sit on the couch and watch TV with, or someone to text to be like, oh my gosh, my kids are bullying me. Like that is so nice to have that sort of outlet instead of just keeping it in all to yourself.
Just continue to put yourself out there and just make sure that you're not like focusing on whatever is negative, because I think we can easily fall into that negative thinking cycle and it just spirals. And so if you feel like you're in a tough spot, just try to find something that's positive, like you were saying, and like something that I'm good at, something that I enjoy, that I feel good about, that I can kind of connect with other people, and also just to try to like not make it as big of a thing as it is, like, because I think with talking to people sometimes it's like you are so wrapped up in thinking what they're going to think about you that you may not say something, but just remember that they're probably more focused on themselves. So try not to like get too wrapped up in yourself. And I know that's easier said than done, but like just remember that a lot of times they're not thinking about what you look like or what you're saying. They're doing the same thing you are, trying to make sure they're saying the right thing. So that
Yeah.
can help take some of the pressure off.
Absolutely. And I just thought of one thing as you were saying that for those of you who do have a community, but the community is purely family, you can also benefit from expanding your network to include friends. Because I know with family dynamics, that is a complicated thing. And sometimes your family doesn't see you for who you have become. They kind of see you as who you were, and they didn't keep up with your evolution as you grew older, as you became a mom. And so if your village is your family and you're like, I don't feel like my village is enough, it's not serving the purpose that I need, use the same advice that we're giving you. Go make friends. Because with friends, it's like whatever stage they're meeting you at, that's who they're meeting, right? They are seeing you for who you are today. And maybe that's all you need right now. Maybe you need that to counter the stuff that you're getting from your family. Because I know family can be sometimes judgmental and critical, right? And so either way, whatever situation you're in, make sure that you are getting what you need. You're getting that support that helps you feel like you and helps you feel like you can do this, because you absolutely can. And having a village helps so much. Okay, whether it's in person, virtual, whatever, just try it and see what it does. Give it a solid, 3-6 months and see how you feel, and then decide.
Yeah, I love that, because we didn't really talk much about it, but when you become a mom, you are different. Like, not only is your time different and your capabilities, your capacity different, but you go through a big change, your identity. So finding people outside of your family sometimes can be really refreshing, because like you don't have to worry about all that stuff from when you were a kid or whatever, the trauma within the family even sometimes. But that's a really great point.
Yeah. Okay. So Patrice, for those who are listening, what is the best way for them to connect with you? So tell us about your services for those who are local to Georgia, and for those who aren't local to Georgia but love what you've shared and want to continue learning from you, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So if someone's local to Georgia, I think the best way to connect is just to go on my website. It's momlifewithp.com, or they can reach out through my email, patrice@momlifecounseling.com. I offer individual counseling as well as group. As you mentioned, I have a great group for moms who are in the postpartum period. We meet virtually right now every other week. So that's a great option. People who aren't in Georgia, you can still follow me at Mom Life Counseling on Instagram. I try to post a lot of this kind of stuff, tips and things that I've learned throughout my journey on there. So, and I'd love to connect that way. I love connecting with other people that work in this field, that, work with moms. So anybody who wants to collaborate, I'm happy to entertain that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Ladies, if you are listening to this, we invite you to go take one step towards expanding your village. And if you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share it with them so that they can also take that step to improving their life, improving their well-being, because that's all we're here to do, is help others learn from what we missed and what we needed. And hopefully you can kind of just borrow our courage to do that, because you are so worth that effort. And we just want you to be well in all ways, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, always. So go share this episode. And if you love this show, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. I would so appreciate you. And thanks so much for listening. And I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.